The Daiwa Saltiga, a $1,000 super spinning reel that many claim to be the best ever made. Today, I'll be giving you all a full fisherman's review, discussing everything that I've learned over the past 6 months while abusing this spinner. I'll test Daiwa's specifications claims, I'll cover everything in the reel component by component, and I'll show you all how this reel performed in real-world fishing scenarios. Lastly, I'll discuss who this reel is meant for, who it's not meant for, and cover whether or not you should buy one. Let's dive in. First off, let's dive into some of Daiwa's claims that they've made for this reel. The weight of the reel, maximum drag pressures, and other improvements that they've made based off of the last model to this model. So a max drag test, first thing that we gotta do. Honestly, I'm a little bit sketched out because I've never tested a spinning reel with this much drag capability before. So we're just gonna slowly tighten it. I'm hooked up to a scale over there, and Chris is gonna film the scale as I slowly tighten and just put this reel to the test. So if you just walk over there, Chris, start reading off the spring scale.
Alright, we are at 35.
Okay, so this right here is honestly like as much as I would ever fish while fighting a fish. And this is kind of ridiculous. Like I would never do this on a boat because I'd probably fall over. I'd have to sit down or something. And we got much more drag to go. Oh, all right, what do we at now?
41.
What's that?
40.
40? That's it?
That's it.
This thing supposedly puts out 50 something. There's so many more. The drag just keeps going. I'm afraid this 50-pound braid's gonna pop.
51 right there.
51?
53.
All right. Oh, we got more. Take a crank. Oh.
40, 49. 53.
Woo! Well, the braid broke.
It broke at 54.
54. Glad I didn't break my rod. That is the most drag that I've ever put out on a spinning reel. The 50-pound braid broke right at about 50 pounds. But yeah, this thing puts out way more drag than you're ever going to need on a spinning reel. And look, I could still keep tightening it. That's pretty ridiculous. In terms of casting, the Saltiga casts as good, if not better, than everything else in its class. I could go to, extravagant extremes and try and see if it casts, a couple percentage points better than every other reel. But from everything that I've done, every other reel that I've used, they're all so comparable, and there's so many little variables to account for that I really don't think the differences that you're gonna feel are really worth the time. What I do notice that's interesting about this reel is it's a little bit less sharp coming off the spool. So the angle that the line comes off the spool is a little bit less sharp. And where that actually helps, or at least it's helped me, is when you have a lot of line out. So let's say you're jigging in deeper water, maybe you have 200 yards of line out. With most spinning reels, you're gonna start to get a lot of tug as you're trying to get the line off the spool because it's dug in and there's such a steep angle for the line to come off the spool. With this, the line comes off in a little bit easier coils and you don't get that problem as much. So they've definitely slightly improved the way that the line comes off the spool lip. My best real world test of this reel was definitely fighting massive beach tarpon. So I caught multiple fish in the 100-pound class on this reel, and it performed better than any other spinner I've ever used for those fish specifically. In terms of drag, put out more drag, and I put more drag on those fish because I knew what this reel was capable of than I ever had before. I also was able to crank in a fish over 100 pounds that happened to be foul hooked, which is really unfortunate. The fish lived, which was super lucky, but he was hooked in the top of the back, and I drug 100+ pound tarpon in backwards with this 10,000 class Saltiga. The cranking power is not only attributed to just into the high quality components, but they've actually redesigned some things, which I'll get into once we do the actual breakdown of all the components of the reels later back at the house. For now, I'll show you guys what it was like fighting those tarpons with the Saltiga. There we go, there we go, there we go. Oh yeah, nice tarpon. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Look at that.
This is the painful part of the fight. The fish will stay out pretty far. You gotta try and put as much pressure on him as possible before a shark comes in and gets him or something like that. But it's uncomfortable for the fish and it's uncomfortable for me.
If you guys are liking this interactive review, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. It helps me create more reviews and more fishing videos in the future. The weight of the reel, we have it zeroed out at 0 ounces right now. Lay them on the scale, get it to balance, and we're sitting at 24.8 ounces. So the advertised weight that Daiwa has on their box is 23.1 ounces. The difference being is that I have line on there and I've just rinsed it off, so the line's probably holding a little bit of water right now. But okay, let's address the elephant in the room. The monocoque or MQ body, the one-piece body, one piece that Daiwa has gone with, they've supposedly revolutionized the game with. Hate to tell you guys if you're just complete Daiwa fanboys, but the technology has been around for over 20 years, probably longer. Van Stahl's been using it. One side plate screws into the other. They're threaded together. Now Daiwa's is slightly different from this in the fact that there is one side is much larger than the other and it's just a little side cover that screws into each other. It's this circle right here. The edge is right around the golden circle. Daiwa saying that there's not a side cover is kind of ridiculous. The claims that they have up on their website aren't entirely accurate. There's a side cover, it's a side plate. The previous design right here, which is used on many reels to this day, Shimano included still uses it. You have two side plates that connect together like this, and then screws that thread through and connect the side plates together. Works just fine. What the MQ design has allowed Daiwa to do, this larger side plate without having screws, or the removal of screws, is giving us room to create a bigger main gear and create more space for certain internals. So that's where that real added benefit is. I don't think there's an actual test, or at least not I know of improved rigidity of the overall reel because there's not screws in side plate to side plates. Theoretically, maybe that makes sense, but I don't know how Daiwa can actually claim that it's whatever percentage stronger, whatever percentage more rigid than the previous design. I can also say the drag is one of the most responsive that I ever used. Really the only thing that even comes close is a Stella, and this might be a little bit better than the Stella. You don't feel that tug and then have the drag pull. It's one seamless motion as a fish is pulling line off the spool. And when it comes to free spinning, I think it's as smooth, if not smoother, than a Stella or its predecessor. It definitely is very, very easy to wind. The biggest difference though is in that power that you have under tension. Vice its predecessor or maybe even a Stella. Should disaster strike and your anti-reverse clutch start to malfunction on the Saltiga, there is a backup mechanical anti-reverse that's present on all sizes of the Saltiga, from the 8,000 all the way up to the 20,000. Its $1,000 competitor though, on the Stella, there actually is not a backup mechanical anti-reverse on the 2019 Stella until you get to the 18,000 and the 20,000, which is very disappointing for its, $1,000 competitor. Let's dive into the component by component breakdown. I do have to show you guys, or have you guys hear this drag, because compared to the Saltigas of the past, this drag just sounds amazing. And you guys heard it in a couple of those clips when I was fighting that tarpon. Just absolutely amazing for the angler, but loud for sure. So if you're trying to be subtle, maybe not the best drag clicker for you. All aluminum drag cap, which on the previous American Saltiga was actually a plastic drag cap. On the JDM Expedition, it was an aluminum drag cap. That was one of the subtle differences. And the clicking mechanism is actually in the drag cap, and I think that's just the brilliant design on how they got it to be so loud and so just ridiculous. Daiwa's rocking just a top stack drag, and I believe in total there are 7 carbon fiber washers in the medium model, so that's the 8,000, 10,000, and 14,000. And then you have 9 carbon fiber washers in the larger version, so the 18,000 and the 20,000. On Daiwa's website, it'll say 14 and 18 respectively, but they're including the metal discs in addition to the braking cylinder, or the braking washers, which are the actual carbon fiber washers, which really do all the work. These washers are slightly smaller in diameter than their predecessor, but there's more of them, and the carbon fiber is a little bit more tightly woven. So it gives that very responsive drag, especially in conjunction with the aluminum rotor. So it's just an overall amazing performance. Pop the spool off. Not a whole lot going on in there. I really wish that they would have gone with some type of spool slits. Doesn't make total sense to me. You could have saved a little bit of weight there, and I just think it gives a much more aggressive look. But if they were going for class and they were going for simplicity, they definitely nailed that with the spool. I just wish they had a little bit of something there. Just a personal preference. In terms of sealing, this reel is fully sealed. And what I mean by that is every possible place that water could get in, Daiwa has done something to mitigate it. It's not as well sealed as something like a dedicated surf reel. Sealing is more of a spectrum than a black and white thing. So on a scale of 0 to 100, this thing is definitely in the high 80s, whereas a dedicated surf reel, like a Van Staal for instance, that's definitely in the 95 to 100 category, because reels like this were built to be fished underwater at times, literally reeled and cranked underwater. For something like this, you should not do that with, because the water pressure will get past the mag seals and things of that nature. But it can take a dunk in a pinch, it can take a splash and heavy soaking offshore in a pinch due to the effective sealing at most areas. Let's take the line roller for instance. As opposed to one mag sealed bearing like you had on the predecessor, now in the line roller you have 2 corrosion resistant bearings and then 2 mag sealed plates on the outside of the line roller blocking water's entry point, which is actually an improvement over the just singular mag sealed bearing that they had in the last one. One piece air bail, and the bail flip feels like you're loading a rifle. It is solid, and honestly, this is probably the best bail flip that I've ever felt in any spinning reel. Now, the rotor, they've replaced the Zion rotor that they had in the last Saltiga, which was actually a very tough composite, not aluminum. This aluminum rotor is a little bit more compact because of how much stronger aluminum is than that Zion, so it gives you a little bit more room to work. Also stronger, there is no give in this at all. And I really, really admire how they've been able to make it so compact. So this compact rotor, what it does give you is it gives you more clearance between the foot of the reel and the rotor itself. So you're able to shorten the stem of the reel. It just kind of goes into the overall mechanics of everything. So they've not only saved that little bit of room, they've gotten it closer to the foot of the reel because now you have more room because it's compact. And it's reduced the bending moment at the actual reel foot. So you're not putting as much tension because there's not enough space there. Just basic physics. Overall, that smaller rotor, that more compact rotor does a lot for you. The additional weight savings that you get by having a more compact rotor, they've been able to allocate that weight in other places, further improving the overall strength of the entire working together mechanism, the working together environment of the reel. So mag seals. I've covered this ad nauseum in previous reviews, and I covered it probably the most overall in my Saltiga Expedition review, so I'll have that link somewhere. But essentially, mag seals are difficult to work on if you're a person that wants to work on your own reel. It's not something that I would recommend you do, and I wouldn't recommend that you buy a third party's mag seal fluid. They are very effective, and they do allow for very effective free spinning. It's just hard to get a hold of. So if you're someone that wants to work on your own reel, a mag sealed reel probably isn't it for you. The handle of the reel is one solid piece, and they've removed a lot of the ports and holes where saltwater would be getting in on the previous models, and it actually does its job of protecting the actual entryway point to the inside of the reel. Inside here, you have 2 mag sealed bearings on each side, which should do their job of protecting any water that can get past the actual handle, as well as these multiple 90-degree shifts that the water would have to snake around in order to get into the reel. So again, a massive splash, no way water is getting past something like that. A dunking, that's where water is going to get in, and your mag seals are going to have to take over. The main gear is massive in this reel, pretty much the size of this golden ring. It's significantly larger, significantly thicker, and stronger than its predecessor. It's also lighter, believe it or not. It's made of something called duralumin, some alloy that Daiwa's come up with, and they haven't released what it actually is because it's, you know, probably patented or something along those lines. But it's a specific alloy that they've made that's lighter, stronger, and just overall an improvement over their last main gear. The pinion itself is that Daiwa brass that gives you just that awesome smoothness, and they mesh together perfectly, so you have that classic Daiwa meshing where everything is just so tight and you just don't feel any play in any of the gears. Now, we've already discussed how the MQ body gives them more room to work. Specifically, it's given Daiwa the ability to have a larger oscillation system. This larger oscillation system comes into play when you're fighting big fish and winding on their load. As a fish is pulling on line, it's affecting the shaft. So it's pulling the shaft towards the line roller. So whichever way the line is coming off, the shaft is getting torqued in that way. As you're cranking against that tension, it's the oscillation system's efficiency that's going to allow you to crank against that. So having a larger, more robust oscillation system that's machined extremely efficiently and effectively is going to give you that improved cranking power. And that's exactly what I felt when I was fighting that large tarpon on the beach, especially the one that was hooked sideways, giving me basically dragging a giant body through the water sideways. Something that's not kind to spinning reels. Spinning reels typically don't do very well when having to crank under massive load, and especially a high gear one like this. But that improved efficiency, along with all of the high quality components and the high tolerances that Daiwa has in their reels, gave me that ability, and it was an experience like something that I had never felt before in a spinning reel. Aesthetically, Daiwa's pretty much flipped the script from the extremely aggressive, futuristic looking Saltiga Expedition released in 2014 to the new 2020 Saltiga, where it's just exudes just class and simplicity in the design. So the gold, the dark blues, I thought personally this was the best looking spinning reel ever made, but I have gained an appreciation for this one. I still don't think it's as good looking, but the simplicity is definitely nice, and it's given them an ability to slowly innovate and slowly add things over time, because there wasn't much to add when you had something looking like the Saltiga Expedition prior. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Comment down below what you guys think of the new aesthetics of this Saltiga. Warranty and service is something that's massively important in a $1,000 spinning reel. Again, this isn't a reel that I would recommend you guys break open and service on your own, especially with mag seals and all the little intricacies that go into a high-end reel like this. Daiwa is offering a 5-year limited warranty, at least Daiwa USA is, on this reel. Additionally, they'll give you a 5-year free service plan. So I think they give you like 5 free services, so cleans and greases on this reel as long as you show proof of purchase. It's not something that I've done personally, so I don't know how good it is, but supposedly you can send it in a day, like overnight it, and then have it back within a day or two from Daiwa. Don't know if that's true. If it is, it's huge, because historically Daiwa hasn't had great customer service, especially when it came to cleaning and greasing or servicing high-end spinning reels. Comment down below if you guys have used or sent in your Saltiga or something similar in the past year or so, and comment what your experience was actually like. We've covered a lot of information on this reel, and I actually haven't answered the question yet on whether or not you guys should buy one and who is this reel meant for. So I think, in my opinion, this reel is meant for guys that are absolute diehards that don't want to settle for anything other than the best. Arguably, this is one of the best spinning reels, if not the best spinning reel ever made. So if you're a guy that wants the best all the time and has to have the best gear, this is the reel for you. If you're a guy that's a diehard that just wants to catch fish, it's not worth $1,000 to you. There are so many reels out there that will get the job done very, very closely to what this reel can do. Something like the Shimano Saragosa, something like a Penn Slammer 4, or a Daiwa Solstice MQ. All those reels are extremely capable, come in capable size classes, and can catch pretty much anything that you want on a spinning reel. So, I guess that kind of answers my question. It depends on what kind of guy you are on whether or not you should buy one. Are you a guy that wants everything to be perfect? He wants to have no question that he has the best spinning reel on the market. This is probably it. Or are you a guy that just wants to go catch some big fish and have pretty reliable gear? Then yeah, you probably don't need to buy it. Let me know what you guys think. I've got many more reel reviews on the way. Comment down below what reels you guys want to see me do next. Additionally, if you guys haven't seen my Shimano Saragosa full review, check that one out. That is a reel that I think, if you're in the price range for $300 reel, that's the one for you. It's somewhere around here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.